Welcome. I'm here with Christian Ellul, who is a partner at E&S Group in beautiful Malta. And why are we here in Malta talking about blockchain and ICOs? Malta is in the process of setting up specific legislation.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about Malta's role and the legislation that is coming into force shortly.
Yes, so basically Malta has always been in the forefront of blockchain. We passed legislation back in July, but with it entering into force as of 1st November now. It's taken some time so that in the background they were doing all the implementing procedures for the regulator to be able to fulfill all the obligations that resulted from the law. So I think we find ourselves in Malta being one of the best now regulated industries, jurisdictions for ICOs and also the exchanges. So the aim has been to bring everything on board. So basically Malta's aim has been to push regulation. By pushing regulation, we hope there'll be mass adoption. And the legislation is specifically covering investor protection. Investor protection, when you look at ICOs, by having a regulated ICOs, you eliminate as much fraud as possible by having teams that are vetted, fit and proper tests, by having roadmaps which are public, by having white papers which have to stipulate minimum amount of information. This will lead to a situation where the abuse of the past hopefully won't taint anymore the concept and the niceness of running an ICO. Same thing with exchanges. You've had unregulated exchanges for numerous years. Now we'll have regulated exchanges in Malta, fully KYC, fully compliant with MLROs, with full documentation on all users, and with the aim of bringing at least the largest exchanges to Malta. And users again, the investors, let's call them, feeling the protection that if something's wrong, they can call up a regulator that will actually take action. A decentralized exchange or unregulated exchange, as has happened in the past, can close down, can vanish with everyone's cryptocurrencies and fiat payments. The point of having it in Malta is that they are going to be now fully compliant in terms of Maltese law. So I think that's our upside.
The regulators have a fairly thankless job, especially when they operate at the edges of what is being invented, because they are tasked with knowing everything, but they can't because not everything has been understood yet. How does the Maltese regulation keep the innovation around the blockchain and tokens without pretending to put everything into a box of past practices? Do you think that the current framework allows for experimentation in terms of what tokens can do and their features? What is your opinion around that?
No, I agree. Obviously, we're trying to regulate a young industry, an industry which is changing all the time. So it's been quite a feat to get this done, and to do it in a way which is at least wide enough to cater for the future. Now, of course, laws can be amended and changed within the ambits of the regulations. But the aim is for it to be as all-encompassing as possible, but keeping the flexibility. They've tried to cover numerous types of, obviously, tokens. What the upside of what we've done is regulating what are called virtual financial assets. So basically, you're looking at, let's say, utility tokens which are listed. The growing trend of STOs, security token offerings and all that, are not covered by this legislation. They're permissible in Malta in terms of other existing frameworks. We are regulating that so-called grey area. Talking about the development and all that, there's also now being set up the Malta Digital Innovation Authority, and there you can either compulsory in certain situations or voluntarily have your blockchain audited and approved. So that's the next big thing. So we're trying to have this growth, and we're trying to create an environment where people want to set up shop in Malta. There are other incentives for startups in Malta, also through Malta Enterprise, where you might have developers here creating, coordinating, creating new stuff together. So I think
What are the criteria for people to pick their legal advisors, the law firm that they are working with respect to the incoming regulations?
So in general, how you pick a law firm, I'd hope it's reputation. So I hope people come to us because they know we have a good reputation. They know we've been in the industry now for a good year and a half. And I think the best thing is word of mouth. So we're lucky clients refer us to new clients and saying they're very happy with our services. So I think that's obviously very important. Obviously the law firm needs to be fully regulated as well. It needs to have the right professionals. In the case of a law firm, lawyers. It needs to be properly set up. With regard to also the new legislation, there is the concept of a VFA agent. A VFA agent needs to be a lawyer or an accountant or similar, or through a corporate entity, who is going to be the, let's call it the gatekeeper for the authorities. So that person will be the person that submits a white paper on behalf of the founders, or is a person who's then entrusted to monitor the roadmap of an ICO, make sure they are doing certain things. Same thing with the VFA agent for an exchange. So basically there's a lot of liability involved, and the authorities are outsourcing to a certain extent certain functions to us.
Also achieving scalability
Yes.
because they potentially have many more people looking
Exactly.
into the projects
Exactly.
than not just what they could do themselves.
Exactly. So I think that's very important. That fits in with our general E&S group. So obviously within our group we have a law firm that takes on the legal work. We have consultancy companies and other corporate service provider, also approved and licensed companies. So I think when you look at our group as a whole, we have all the necessary licenses for whatever activity people want, all the way down to fiduciary and trust licenses in those scenarios as well. So I think it's important to make sure the firm you work with are fully regulated. They are up to speed with the regulations. They have the right people, the right mentality, and I think also they're proactive and pro-business approach to it as well.
You mentioned that you have been for a year and a half in this industry, which is like the age of the universe in terms of ICOs.
True.
How many clients have you handled that are blockchain or ICO related?
We started way back with ICOs when they were obviously unregulated. And that's when we were approached by someone to do an ICO, and we sort of sat back and thought about it. What is this really? What's an ICO? And yes, people were doing it, but we said that's not our approach. We don't just do things. We stop and analyze the consequences of what people are doing. We looked at it as a kind of reward-based crowdfunding event, and we therefore structured it at the time to fit within existing regulations, to ensure that obviously the client is covered as much as possible. So that's how we started. Things have changed a big amount from then. So I think now we've advised around 90 clients on their token offers, which are now in various stages. Some were closed early on, some are signed up and are now obviously subject to the new regulations. So there's a lot of movement there. On the exchanges as well, we have, I believe, early on we had maybe 10, 15 exchanges with interest. Now that the criteria have been elevated and they're quite onerous, we still have about 3 or 4 serious exchanges who want to go ahead and get approved and licensed in Malta. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, you tokenized your own business as well.
We did with a private offering of our token. Our token is basically linked to our services, so you can pay our services in our token. And we're basically tokenizing all our services, which are linked to the E&S Group. That was quite interesting, and I think it helps as well. Going back to why you would use how you would choose your law firm. I think the fact that we are very involved, we've done it, we understand the implications of what it involves, helps give us better advice. You know, we are not a firm where someone says, "Can we come and pay in Bitcoin?" We're like, "No, we don't touch that kind of stuff." We are part of it. We are part of the industry. And therefore many of our clients feel they can associate themselves with us, and I think that's quite key to our success.
We are here now at the beginning of November 2018, and 2019 is going to be, according to many, a big year for tokens and blockchain projects. How do you see 2019? What are things that you believe projects should concentrate on?
I mean, obviously, ICOs have suffered with this bear market. They're raising funds in an industry which is obviously relying on hype before that. I still think, whether there's a change in the market or not, I still think there's use for tokenomics. I think tokens go beyond the traditional raising funds in exchange of a token. I think tokenomics can fit within an ecosystem of a group of companies, even where you don't raise initial funds for. So there's much more use you can do with that, whether it is reducing intra-group bank movements and numerous other situations. So I think there's always, I think we're an industry which won't stop. So blockchain and cryptocurrencies are there to stay. How they will evolve is anyone's guess, but I think there will continue to be a use for this. There's a growing trend for STOs, security tokens, which is maybe a natural reaction. People are scared of this industry, so they want to achieve more, they want more, and they think security rights give them more. So it's natural. I'm not sure there's much novelty to it. You know, IPOs and securities, traditional securities have been done. I think they're just riding the wave of blockchain tying into that. But there are some situations where you might have added liquidity and all that where they're useful. But I don't see, I think the utility token market was much more groundbreaking as a means of collecting
and with
funds.
the new Maltese regulatory framework, utility tokens, regulated utility tokens, are going to achieve stability and enhance the acceptance among a wider public, hopefully next year.
I mean, we hope. Obviously, if there are less people who are investing in the market, those people, if they had to choose between investing in an ICO, which is a good project, but it's in an unregulated environment, in a country where there's unregulated, where there are maybe no specific repercussions and checks and balances, versus another ICO, which is equally interesting, but it's fully regulated in Malta, I think an investor would feel more comfortable going to Malta, knowing that there is, as we said, a VFA agent who's monitoring the progress, ensuring that milestones in a roadmap are achieved, and if they're not, liaising with the authorities to see what's going to happen and all that. So I think it gives much more certainty. Will that over and above lead to an increase in the market? I hope it does change. But as the market is now, I still think that Malta can have an edge versus other jurisdictions.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Nice talking to you.